In all fairness, there was no point in recording anyway. Nobody's going to see this noise. Are you recording already?
Welcome to Bonehead Weekly. This week's topic was a pain in my ass. I kept thinking we're going to talk about the most famous doctors in movies, and I had a diatribe 20 minutes long about Patch Adams.
I really don't know where we even discuss that as I don't even remember discussing that as a topic.
No,
Gentlemen,
but
I'm going to be honest.
as soon as you said presidents, I was like, oh yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. But if you'd have hooked me up to a lie detector test, I would have passed it saying we were going to talk about doctors.
Well, thanks to your early on case early Alzheimer's, we now have a topic for next
Which
week.
one of us has early onset Alzheimer's? The man who just said the sentence?
Well, tried to say the sentence. I mean, there was a lot
I said the man who just said the sentence,
okay.
pointing at myself to clarify for our audience, or the man who said, or the early odds said, where's my roast beef?
I said early on case because I said
I'm sorry, I couldn't even screw it up correctly as you did.
When the heck did we get roast beef?
Alzheimer's. Admit.
I mean, out of the three of us, I'm most likely.
Oh, I know, but I won't live that long to get it. Ha ha! I win this round.
Hold on, this is dark. The Big C will take out James.
Yeah. I mean, genetic predisposition. Yeah, I mean, the odds are
that is no way to talk about his.
Which one?
I just got that. I got that.
It's pretty funny. It's pretty.
I got that. That's good. That's good. I'll tell her you said that.
Have you guys seen?
Made your will.
Have you guys seen? I will say Get Out. What the hell is his name of his last movie?
Nope.
Do you know? Do you guys see Nope?
I liked it. I saw it. I liked it. It's not his. It's my least favorite.
It's an okay movie. Do you know when they go in, Chad? When the thing picks them up, all of them as they're going in the thing.
Yeah.
That's the Big C that's going to take him out.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. That's what she is.
Oh my God.
All dance in James's blood.
Yeah, well, I mean, he should be something. I was going to be.
And by the way, I just said that because James's wife is Cantonese.
Really?
So you think Cantonese people are going to take me out?
That explains all the MSG.
Listen, to quote Mr. Burns, "Oh, General So, you are a fierce opponent."
Is it fearsome or formidable foe? It's
formidable foe, but your chicken is delicious, delectable. It's delectable, not delicious.
Can we get to the topic? Because this is Ted's topic.
We're doing our favorite songs by the dead president.
Yeah, so we so the background of this is we were doing our other segment on a Good Movie Monday with Glenn and Ben.
Never heard of it.
I came up with the topic of fake presidents, and then we started talking about it, and Joe actually started to go, "Oh, I have a whole lot to talk about with this topic," and
I forgot.
I know.
Wrong. Keep going.
No, I think you were right. It's just you did fake doctors instead.
No, I mean, I've got stuff together. I'm ready to go. I'm just saying.
I don't know. It's just one of those things when you think about American presidents in movies, it's that one of those things that Hollywood dramatizes and it's nowhere near accurate. No, even when they're telling the true story of real presidents, they dramatize it to the point of it's nowhere near as accurate as it should be.
But that's a common problem with every quote unquote historical movie, right?
That is true. It's just
because
with American presidents, it upsets me just a little bit more because we basically turn these people into godlike figures, and in a lot of the cases, they're not.
Well, but I mean, I think it's the same way with. Let me use a sports movie comparison. Glory Road. Now, a lot of people from Kentucky have opinions on Glory Road, but my thing with Glory Road, I'm actually working on something for work that is not directly related, but similar to Glory Road. And the problem you have in works like that is that to make it a 2-hour film, you have to cut stuff.
Yeah.
And so if you watch Glory Road as a film, I want you to think about what was going on in the country at that time. You know, that people were still being killed. There were tons of student protests. There was XYZ. But none of those student athletes have an opinion on any of it.
Right.
None of them are ever seen attending protests. None of them are ever seen having, talking about civil rights. None of them. And of course, if you go back and look at the actual things, it turns out these students had opinions.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the problems when, and I use that example because I think that's the entire thing. Like, it's really hard, to make any movie that is quote unquote historical and do it anywhere near justice, because even if you're using primary sources, it still filters through the lens of one person, right? Whoever
Oh,
wrote
I
that
know.
primary source.
And that's not really what I'm saying. I know that we have to take liberties in order to tell a good story.
Oh,
It's
no,
just,
I don't think we should. I think everything should be filmed in real time.
it's just in terms of presidency, movies about the American politics and the American presidency. I just have a big problem with how it's portrayed, because in almost 98% of the time, it's never what it actually is. And I'm like, we should. That's why, honestly, guys, for all three of my picks, I am picking no true non-fictional portrayals of presidents. So
Well, I was going to ask that. Were we doing movies? Are we doing shows? What do
we
we?
can do whatever you want. It's a pop culture
Ooh.
podcast, Joe.
I'm just asking. We didn't really go through any kind of.
I will take this and throw it at myself.
Well, can I throw one out to talk about real quick?
I want you both to go before me.
And
Well,
honestly,
this
we
is
could
not
do
what I was
movies.
gonna
We could do
start
movies
with.
today. We could do movies and do TV next. Give us more topics.
This is not what I wanted to start with, but I
Okay,
thought
move on,
when
doctor.
you all said fake presidents, I thought of a movie about a fake president, and I immediately went to Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the number one. If you look at, once again, me doing my list research, Dave shows up in the top 2 or 3 of almost every list of just presidents in movies.
I can
But
guess
now
what
this-
number. I
for-
can guess
for
what the other
those-
one it competes with. But again, that's the whole.
For those that may not know, because it's a 30-year-old film, who wants to tell them what Dave's about?
Dave is about Dave Newhart, my dear friend who sounds like this.
I thought it was about Dave Letterman.
Oh, well, shit. There's 2 movies about Dave. Dave is a movie director by Ivan Reitman. Actually, it's Jason Reitman. He said his favorite movie of his father's wasn't Ghostbusters. It was Dave. But Dave is a guy who is a president impersonator. He looks like the current president. The current president has a stroke. He's not a nice guy. And they bring Dave in to cover while they who is it the head of state? Who is what's his face playing? Can somebody remind me?
Frank Langella.
Frank Langella, but I don't remember what the characters. He's the bad guy. He wants to
Yeah.
be president, but I don't remember.
Bob Alexander.
But I
Bob
don't
Alexander.
remember
Is
his
he
job.
Secretary of State?
He's
I
Secretary of
think.
State or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he wants Dave's job. He wants the job. So Dave actually becomes a pretty good president by being a fake president. He gets a bill passed and he kind of makes up with his estranged wife, played by Sigourney Weaver. It's a really I haven't watched it in years. Have you guys watched it in a long time?
No.
I mean, I enjoyed it when I was.
It's a nice little movie.
Yeah, but again, it's that whole thing of the idealistic of this is how politics work, and politics does not work at all like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we talked about this. This isn't a president case, but it's almost. It's not the same story, obviously, but it gives me the similar vibe of Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, right? And if you see
Yeah.
Mr. Smith Goes to Washington,
Yeah.
very old Jimmy Stewart. I almost said Jimmy Carter movie. That would have been wrong. Jimmy Stewart movie. But it's basically the setup is really nice guy somehow makes it there and realizes it's terrible. But when he tries to comment on it, the media manipulates what he says. There's that entire scene, where they catch him basically making a PU, like holding his nose, and they turn it into an article about him mocking how bad everything stinks in DC, and that's not what he was doing. But I think it's very interesting because both of those deal with how do we manipulate this image. So,
Yeah. So which one of you wants to go first?
Chad, go ahead. You like presidents.
Chad, you love the presidents.
I do. I do like presidential history.
Oh, and before we get started, no shit, audience. Seriously, I don't even know if they still do the dia-friend. Wonder what I'm thinking about, or the phone a friend from Deal or No Deal, or if Deal or No Deal is even a thing anymore. But if you ever have the chance and you're in some sort of trivia, call up Chad, because if it's a presidential question, he more than likely will know the answer. I'm not making any of this up. Chad knows the
No,
American presidents like his back of his hand for some. I don't understand how, but it is his superpower. So
Don't get him
Chad's
started,
number is
though, on
8675309.
don't get him started though on what was it? What was the doily scandal?
Early onset dementia.
Something about the doily scandal. Not the teapot dome scandal. That's different, but
Oh, that's the one I was interested in. The one where they put the things under the teapots, the little doilies.
yeah, that's completely unrelated. But go ahead. I think that's British, actually. It's a doily scandal.
Chad.
So no, I just want to put. I'm going to briefly talk about the one that I mentioned during Good Movie Monday skit, who has such a wonderful quote as "Shit, I know shit's bad right now with all that starving bullshit and the dust storms, and we're running out of French fries and burrito coverings, but I got a solution." And then, of course, the congressmen from South Carolina say, "That's what you said last time, dipshit." And yeah, I got a solution. You're a dick. South Carolina, what's up? I'm talking about President Camacho from Idiocracy.
Say his full name. Give it the gravitas it deserves.
Say the full name because I don't have
I
it.
don't
on
have
my
it
notes.
pulled up.
You do?
No.
Oh, I don't have his full name.
No. It's something Camacho.
Oh, well,
I've got a cat over here sick.
you can Google it while I'm talking. If you
Oh,
want to.
I'll Google it.
I don't Google. I don't know how to Google.
Yeah, I just like. I
I
love
know
Terry-
your wife complains about how you don't Google.
My
I
wife
lo-
doesn't even know who I am.
I love Terry Crews as President Camacho, who is just he's a pro wrestler turned president because the world is full of idiots and they think that this is who can run the country. And back when it was released in 2006, it was so bizarre that it was like, oh, there's no way this is true. Cut to 10 years later, and oh shit.
Yeah.
I'm not being political or nothing, but it was kind of on those same lines.
It is President Dwayne Elizondo Mountain Dew Comancho.
There we go. See? Give it the respect it deserves.
I didn't have
You
it.
put some respect on that name.
You put some respect on it and spit on it and say stanky.
But all he cares about is
His what? Chad froze.
did I?
You
I
did.
have-
You
Now he
froze.
came back.
Oh, you're back now. But
Oh.
you literally all he cares about is, and then it literally froze.
But no,
I
all
thought
he
you were
cares
Still
doing
don't know
it.
what he cares about.
I thought you were doing a Shatnerian pause.
Did you just say you shit in your Narian?
I don't even have an Aryan.
Did you shit on an Aryan? Because you should.
What?
Because you should. All right, Chad.
Yep. I was just gonna say all he cares about is explosions and riding his motorcycle.
That's all I care about.
And-
Just need a motorcycle.
which is pretty much the typical American
I
viewpoint
mean,
of
who
life.
doesn't love explosions?
Me.
Which is odd. James, you're next.
They're loud and they're terrifying. I don't want to be around them.
But
I
it's
don't want to be around
amazing.
something that could possibly take off my arm.
You're the same one who lit a smoke bomb and blew up a dorm.
No, I thought it was literally
Allegedly.
just going to shoot out a bunch of smoke. I didn't know it was a damn grenade.
I didn't either. James, and I will testify to that to the rest of my
I'm sorry.
life.
Apparently, Joe wants to move on. So, James, go ahead.
No, are you done? Are you what else
Sure,
you
I'm
wanna
done.
say,
And
Camacho?
James already went. It's technically your pick.
No, well, I was just doing Dave with an intro, but you want me to do? I'll do.
See? I
a
told you he'd have 3.
I'll do a weak one. I'll do a weak one because it's technically about somebody that became a president, but features footage of him. I want to talk about the best film about the effects and life of somebody that is now held as a phenomenal politician, and that would, of course, be the best film that also stars Thomas Jane about a president and his effect on things. I want to talk about David Arquette's epic film, The Tripper.
I have
If
no
you've
idea
never
what the
heard
hell
of The
this is.
Tripper, if you've watched The Tripper with me,
I have no recollection of watching The Tripper with
Is
you.
it the autobiography of John Ritter?
The Tripper,
That's a good
gentlemen,
joke. I mean, it didn't
is-
land. It didn't land, but
that joke would have needed Sully on board to land. timely.
Well,
Anyway.
either one of those are timely, but yeah.
The Tripper is about a serial killer
If John Denver was flying.
who dresses as Ronald Reagan to kill these environmentalists.
Yeah, I've
And-
never seen this. I don't know what you're talking about.
I've never
Dude,
heard of
you
it.
Netflixed it on DVD back when you were the director of a certain hall on campus.
Hagen Hall doesn't exist anymore. I Netflixed it on DVD.
Yes, back when you used to
There is
get
a
the
whole
physical
generation
copy.
that isn't listening to us right now because our audience skews older. No offense.
By the way, I think they just officially.
Yes, it ends in July.
Yeah.
And did you hear what's going to happen?
No.
Allegedly, Redbox is going to buy out all their stock. Because Redbox, I guess, is going to do DVDs by mail, or does do DVD. I don't know what they do, but anyway, and all I could think about is all those obscure films that you used to use, because you get obscure stuff.
I got an hour-long documentary on John Carpenter off of them one time because it was the only damn place on earth you could get it.
Yep.
I didn't know they
anyway,
were stopping that.
Anyway, gentlemen, it's in 1967 when he was still governor, and they use actual footage of him. It's Reagan talking about how environmentalists are actually stopping the economy and all that stuff. And it jumps forward to this, and this kid is watching it. He grows up, goes to an insane asylum because he's crazy. He busts out, and he finds these environmentalists.
I forgot all about this movie.
And starts killing them. Starts killing them while he's dressed as Ronald Reagan, President Reagan. By that,
I believe you that we watched it. I believe you, but I don't have any record.
I honestly thought you were just screwing with me, and that you did actually, because no, we watched it. We watched it sitting in Hagen, and I believe actually our review is, well, that was different.
I mean, I believe you because you have done less drugs and cocaine than Chad.
Yeah, that's true.
Or is cocaine different than drugs, Chad?
No.
The way he did them, yes.
No.
That's probably a good point.
It's amazing how much Scotch tape he used when he did it. That's what I don't get. Anyway, the point being though, but yeah, no, it's I mean, and he
Scotch tape
obviously
because it's bourbon.
It's a very weird movie, and it's only vaguely about a president, but the fact he becomes obsessed with Reagan and he decides that his killing persona is that he will dress as Reagan as a serial killer and go through and just kill people.
And James, I'm sorry if you mentioned this because I was looking it up. It was one of the few movies directed by David Arquette. He also wrote it.
Yeah, he wrote and directed it, and it stars Thomas
like
Jane.
3 times.
And
that's what's
what?
funny. James, are you telling me David Arquette directed that?
Yeah, by the way,
Hold
David
on.
Arquette.
Chad, are you
that
telling
would
me
be
David
strange.
Arquette directed that?
Good gravy, yes, Joe.
And it was
Is
adapted
James
also
know?
into a comic book, which was also scripted by David Arquette by Image Comics, that came out in May of 2007.
He only directed 2 feature-length films, The Tripper and Selling Air, before that.
All right, I'm going to look up The Tripper as James talks.
You probably look it up and you realize that it's the poster of Ronald Reagan holding an axe.
Or you'll get the other thing, which really doesn't make sense, but it's a severed hand, and they've dropped a joint. That's the alternative poster.
I don't even remember.
But yeah.
I don't think I've seen this.
He came up with the idea to make it because he went to a reggae concert in Northern California, and here's his quote: "We're surrounded by redwood trees, and the redwood trees are always so creepy anyway. And I thought it would be crazy if a madman came out of the trees and started killing all these hippies."
It does.
And
go ahead.
he decided to make the killer obsessed with Ronald Reagan because he wanted the film to be a commentary on the Reagan era policies about environmentalism, which is more important, the economy or the environment, and all of that stuff. And so, and then he saw a Reagan mask, and he's like, "That's perfect. The guy will dress as Reagan himself and kill these people." And the title is itself kind of an allusion to a film Ronald Reagan did where the line was, "Win one for the Gipper." And so he took Gipper and made it Tripper. There you go. That's the origin of the title. So if you're like, why is it called the Tripper? Well, that's why.
Wow. That's something.
He ain't being condescending or nothing, James.
No, I'm just.
Did you know? Hey, I'm not joking, but did you know David Arquette directed this? I'm sorry.
David Arquette's best film as an actor, I will still hold up as The Gray Zone. There, I said it.
I knew
haven't
you
seen-
couldn't get. I know you couldn't get away without mentioning it.
No, because every time I see that scene, because he's in the final scene, it breaks me. It's one of the few movies that literally doesn't matter how many times I watch it. I can watch Schindler's List. I can watch Old Yeller, and I'd even VR Killing Old Yeller. He had rabies. He had to go. But the last scene in the gray zone gets me every flipping time.
Well, it does have that actress Paz de la Huerta. She was in that movie Nurse, where she's the killer. Anybody
Yeah.
remember this? She was in Boardwalk Empire. She played
Yeah.
first girlfriend.
Yep.
I had a thing. Anyway, all right. Is it my turn?
Is there anybody you
Yep.
don't have a thing for other than me and Chad?
I have a thing for one of you.
It's Joe. It's you, James.
Oh,
you
you just
can't
say
stand
that.
me.
You just say
true.
that.
It's not true.
You just say that, but I subscribe to your OnlyFans. I've seen where you redo the John and Yoko pose.
So my pick.
How you were both Yoko was what's weird.
This is odd. My pick. I
Oh,
thought,
that's good, James.
I agree. Are you still hurt? By the way, did you all know that David Arquette only directed these two movies? Chad, the reason it's funny is literally if you go back and listen to it later, he drops it like 2 or 3 times, and then that's what's funny is like 2 minutes later is when you go. I know I may have missed
I was
this.
looking it up. I was not paying attention like I should have.
That's
I'm so sorry.
nobody's giving. It's funny because of just how it went down.
Yeah.
All right, mine is President James Dale from Mars Attacks, played
you
by
mother.
Jack Nicholson. I told you, I can't believe you didn't pick it. Now
It's on my. It's my top 3.
it's not your top 3.
It's not.
It's not
It's
your top 1.
it's 1, 2, 3.
It was number 3.
Yeah,
shut up,
I was
quick.
going to do him next because I knew neither one of y'all would pick my obscure one, but it's okay. I got a backup.
Jack Nicholson does 2 roles in this movie. One of them is funny.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for a counter argument for one of you.
the cowboy guy's
not funny at all.
no.
Not funny at all. But him as the president is funny. In fact, a lot of people in this movie aren't great for some odd reason, even though this movie has a fantastic cast. It's just, I don't know if they're overacting or what. And maybe it's just too much with everyone else. Mars Attacks, I know people love it, and I like it, but it's still a flawed movie.
Oh, big flaw. Yeah,
But no, he does have one of the best lines ever, and it's
I know which one
funny.
you're going to do.
But
That's the
it
one I
is-
was going to do.
Yeah, I'll let you do it, but it's funny,
Oh,
and it's
go ahead.
also it also seems resoundingly true. Go ahead, do the line.
No, go ahead, James. Please.
You've still got 2 out of 3 branches of government working for you, and that ain't bad.
It was in the trailer.
Yeah.
It's funny. His death scene makes, I don't know. A lot of the problem with the movie is uneventful. It's an uneventful film. As Slim Whitman coming around screaming as playing music, blowing all their brains is kind of a 30 second to 1 minute joke that goes on for what, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? Funny once, but that's how
It's
they
just-
kill all the aliens.
Also,
It just
too,
doesn't-
when
it's an
you're-
uneventful film.
When your 2 main heroes are Luke Haas and the
Girl,
the football player who was
Jim
just trying
Brown.
to get home to Pam Grier,
Jim Brown.
Jim Brown.
Jim Brown's actually probably one of the better actors in that movie.
That's what I was gonna say. He was like the unsung hero of that movie.
Yeah, because I think he may be playing it. Him and Tom Jones.
Yep.
I love scenes in it. I do. I get it. I remember Roger Ebert defending it because his point was you have to realize Tim Burton, the director, is pulling for the Martians.
Yeah.
He wants the Martians to win. And if you look at it from that angle, I get it. I took a girlfriend to this movie and she was so uninterested, unfunny. I don't think people remember just how bad this thing came out and laid a turkey. And the problem is, and one of my presidents I'm going to get to after this, which actually is very serious, it has a similar problem, only that movie's really good and Mars Attacks is a flawed, I shouldn't say, is a really interesting movie that's flawed in the end. So Independence Day came out that summer, and close to Thanksgiving, we got Mars Attacks. And this country did not want Mars Attacks. They wanted Independence Day.
Right. Yeah, they wanted the big blockbuster.
I wanted Independence Day. It was fantastic. Watching the trailers for it, what?
No, I did, but man, when I got Mars Attacks, I was happy.
I just remember, bless her, Candace is gone now, but Candace just being so despondent that's what I chose. It didn't work out for anybody who's wondering. So, who's next?
I guess I am. So I'm gonna go with my obscure one, and then because I'm gonna save the one since Joe took mine. I'm gonna pick one that's just gonna piss both of you off. But I gotta talk. So this is a movie that I found some remnants of entertainment into it. Joe and James did not, and they never got to the
my
part
God, he's
where,
going to talk about Citizen Kane again.
oh nope. You all unfortunately didn't make it far enough in to see Jim Backus as president of the United States.
That's
in
not true,
Slapstick of
sir.
Another Kind.
We saw his first scene.
Oh, okay. I apologize. Did you see him on the airplane though? You did not see him on the airplane, did you?
I don't
know.
remember. That
I remember seeing him and went, "Oh, there's Jim Backus," because he's. Yeah.
I thought we cut that off at right after Jerry Lewis and Madeline Kahn in the humongous baby cribs talking to one another. I didn't think we actually got to the president. I apologize.
I may have talked over the title of the film, though. You may want to repeat it just in case
So
the
we
audience.
are talking about the very, very terrible Slapstick of Another Kind. It is directed by Stephen Paul and written by Stephen Paul, based on a book or a short story written by Kurt Vonnegut. And the story behind this movie is Stephen Paul bought the rights to this novel, short story from Kurt Vonnegut, and held on to it for years. And then decided to make a movie, and he completely threw out the actual story that Kurt Vonnegut wrote and replaced it with this nonsense trash that he made into a film starring some of the biggest names in comedy. Jerry Lewis, Madeline Kahn, Marty Feldman, hell, Samuel Fuller's in it one time, Pat Morita. The list goes on and on. There's tons of people in this. But Jim Backus as the president of the United States is hilarious. He's just a beat up president. Our country's in ruins. There's a backstory that I don't think you guys got into, where gas has been completely wiped out. We have no more access to gas. So the entire country is powered by chicken shit.
Yeah, no, we got to that part.
Okay. So that's Jim Backus. He needs to find a way to keep the country going. And he's tired of running around in Air Force One that's powered by chicken shit. That's his whole thing. And he finds these two twins who are very grotesque looking, but are supposed to be the smartest people on the world. And I won't go into further details. If you want to watch this, it is free on Tubi. As Joe and James can say, I cannot recommend this to anyone. If you like really, really bad movies, trash cinema, you can watch this and be completely amazed on how this movie got made. For God's sakes, it's the Chinese people get shrunk down to like 2 inches, and they fly on fortune cookie spaceships.
Not at all culturally insensitive.
Yeah, it's weird how it even exists.
Yes. Yeah. But Jim Backus as the president of the United States is one of those forgotten roles of a president. Should be revisited, especially in our modern times.
Yeah.
So there you go. James.
I'm going to talk about one of the most underrated presidents on film within the last 20 years. Epically played by Bruce Greenwood. Bruce Greenwood is the type of plays a character, a president. Well, we never actually get a name. He's just referred to as the president. He plays the type of president, though, that you can sneak into a White House party, sir, and you can abduct him, and then you can tell him that you have to abduct him because you got to solve a mystery and use historical clues to solve it. And you know what? He's not going to turn you in. He's down for it. He knows you're just doing what you got to do. Bruce Greenwood plays the president in the epic Nicolas Cage film National Treasure 2: Book of Secrets.
I swear I have no recollection of Bruce Greenwood being in that. And that has to be how many times? It doesn't matter.
I do because they kidnap him, right, James?
Yes, they sneak into the party.
And I bet,
They
and Joe,
fake
I
their
bet you
way.
didn't know that the president in that movie was played by Bruce Greenwood.
Yeah, it's Bruce Greenwood. It is.
And
That's
have
right,
I
Chad. Thank
told you lately that I love you, that there's no one else above you.
And
Except for
literally,
that
though,
fucking demon above you.
he
I have
he
no recollection of the plot of. Is Ed Harris in that piece of shit?
Hey, listen, sir. Listen, I will go see Book of Secrets 3. Matter of fact, actually, I hope they follow through and do it. I know they did the TV series.
That is
No offense
canceled.
meant to the TV series.
I've never seen it.
The reason the TV series is canceled, Chad, is
It sucked.
you have to have somebody that can go over the top. Because you have to distract from the fact that a lot of the clues don't make sense.
Well, those movies are wildly successful.
My daughter.
Why didn't we get a third one?
But they need Nicolas Cage. They need that cast. They need that dynamic.
No one's arguing with you. I'm serious. Why was there not a third Book of Shadows?
Allegedly, there was going to be. And matter of fact, actually, even when the TV series came out, they said, "Oh, this doesn't mean we're not doing a part 3." And I was like, "Good."
Apprentice is what killed that, wasn't it?
Which
John
by the
Turteltaub and Nick Cage.
yeah, because it's Turteltaub.
John Turteltaub directed those two and directed.
Now that's what I'd like to see Disney do a Disney Plus film for. I wish that got, and no offense meant to Hocus Pocus because my wife loves it and I enjoy it. And Mick Garris has been on our show. I enjoy Hocus Pocus, but I hope somehow
Mick Garris is that big of a fan of Hocus Pocus.
Well, I know, but I mean, but if it wasn't for Mick Garris, we wouldn't have got Hocus.
I'm not arguing, and he always talks about it.
Guys, hey, I don't know if you looked this up, but National Treasure 2 is directed by John Turteltaub, who also directed The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Yeah.
Hey, he's also directed Think Big with those Barbarian twins, Chad.
Oh, did he direct that seriously?
Google it.
No, I enjoyed Sorcerer's Apprentice quite a bit.
I have no recollection of it, other than you giving me shit because I had a black pair of shoes that I bought right after that, and you going around going, "Look, Joe's got his sorcerer's shoes."
Leather soles, they conduct magic better because you've got organic touching in the earth.
Yeah, that's all I remember about the Sorcerer's Apprentice for the most part.
No,
Nick Cage in that hat.
To be honest,
Alfred Molina's in that, right?
Alfred Molina's the villain, and that's what I mean.
The best part of that movie, as I recall.
Everything about that movie is in some ways predictable, but as far as family entertainment, watching it with my kids, it's great.
I may have to try that. I'm gonna go back and rewatch that. My kid, for a hot second, got into the Night of the Museum movies. Oh God, they've gotten even worse with age.
Oh no, I was about to say it is. If you watch it again, Joe, and you come back and say no, the Night at the Museum films are better, I may have to have words with you.
Honestly, the only thing about Night of the Museum that I think still holds up, and don't ask me why, but Amy Adams as Amelia Earhart, I still enjoy that her role in that is that.
She's good in it, but the movie's awful. And just like the old fuckers in the first one are good at it.
Yeah, Mickey Rourke. Dick Van Dyke and the amazing.
Dick Van Dyke is actually doing. Actually, it's better than that movie deserves.
Yeah, the amazing African American character actor who I love and I can never remember his name.
Something. Right.
He's one of those actors that should not be forgotten, and I'm terrible that I forgot his name.
Early Offset Dominia.
Ooh.
All right, whose turn? Are you done?
You're done. It's your turn.
I'm done. All right, I'll see you guys later.
All right, bye.
So I want to talk about a serious movie, and it's kind of the same story we were just talking about with the. I forgot what I was talking about. We were talking about there was a movie that came out. Independence Day. It did not help Mars Attacks, although I think there's enough time in between them. I just don't think the world was ready for Mars Attacks. But this is about a nuclear holocaust, and it's directed by one of my favorite filmmakers of all time, Sidney Lumet. And basically, what I'm going to talk about is Failsafe. And Failsafe starred Henry Fonda as the president. And it's about nuclear holocaust and we blowing the hell out of each other. It's based on a famous book by Eugene Burdick and Harvey Wheeler. And the film,
I'm looking it up. Who played the Henry Fonda part in the 2000 film? I'm looking it up.
I've never seen it.
Neither have I. It was a big deal at the time.
Right. And basically,
Richard Dreyfuss.
Critical error that sends a group of U.S. bombers to destroy Moscow, and we're trying to stop it from happening. It's got an all-star cast. Dan O'Haraly, you'll know him as old man in RoboCop. Walter Matthau, Larry Hagman, Fritz Weaver, Dom DeLuise. And by the way, you're absolutely right. The televised play, Chad, was George Clooney and Richard Dreyfuss and Noah Wyle. And it was broadcast in black and white.
No, I didn't. No, George. I thought George. Oh, yeah. I thought he. No, it was directed by Stephen Frears. Sorry.
Yeah. So, I don't know if you've all ever seen it.
I vaguely remember it.
I have not seen. I've seen parts of the 2000 version, but I've never seen the original.
So it's a really good movie. It's extremely depressing. The problem is it came out in October of '64. Do you know what came out in January of '64? A little movie directed by this guy nobody ever heard of. He didn't go on to do anything, calling Dr. Strangelove.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of my honorable mentions.
Dr. Strangelove, which is another great performance by who, Chad?
Peter Sellers.
Peter Sellers is the president. But that came out in January. Everyone laughed. And in October, this one's depressing as hell.
Yeah.
No, and it's just as relevant today, but Henry Fonda is one of those actors. I read Peter Fonda's book about his dad, and it kind of went back and forth, but about how I feel about him now. But if you get a chance, check it out, because I believe I believe him as president. Some of these you don't believe him as president.
Right.
I have a hard time believing that. I don't know. As much as I like Harrison Ford, I hope I'm not shitting on anybody's pick, but I don't think any of you all picked James Marshall from Air Force One.
No.
Did you?
No, it's a great, and there's when we get to honorable mentions, there's some that I like. They're not good movie presidents. They're good in the movie as president. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not
right.
We don't really believe they're the president if it was a reality, but in the movie they fill that role, right? And
right.
and that falls into that category. We need an action president. Sure, it can be,
Yeah. All right. That's me. Failsafe, the president, played by Henry Fonda. Chad.
So I'm actually going to talk about a portrayal of a real president. And, I could talk about Daniel Day-Lewis as Lincoln. I could talk about Alan Rickman as Ronald Reagan, James Marsden as JFK. I could go on, but no, I want to talk about Kevin Kline's portrayal of Ulysses S. Grant in the wonderful, accurate film Wild Wild West.
Wiki wiki, yo yo, bang bang.
Why? Actually,
you know what? I actually caught part of it a while back.
How bad is it?
Oh, it's not good.
It's not good, but it's not somehow. I think I've hit that Patton Oswalt level, where he talks about you see something when you're younger and it makes you mad, and then you see it again, and you're like, it doesn't affect me, so I don't care.
Yeah, you're numb to it.
And approaching it that way, I was like, you know what? Kevin Kline's a lot of fun in this.
That's the only reason to watch
Kline's
it. Is
the
Kevin
best part
Kline.
of the movie.
Yeah,
Selma Hayek's fun, and it's not too long.
Yeah, Kevin Kline is honestly the only saving grace of this terror. Kenneth Branagh as the over the top villain.
Okay.
No, I was gonna say I'll give it. But and that's my entire thing. Like I would watch. Like if they announced right now they were doing a spinoff and they're bringing Kevin Kline back in a limited series playing Artemis Gordon, I'd watch it.
Yeah, me too. Honestly, I will watch anything. I will watch anything with Kevin Kline in it, even that terrible Beauty and the Beast. Beauty or the Beast.
That's bad. Also, the one where they play the grandfathers in Vegas. That one's bad too.
I actually haven't seen that one.
It's terribly forgettable.
No, but him as Ulysses S. Grant, for one thing, it's a completely inaccurate portrayal of a man who was drunk out of his damn mind 24 hours a day, who was so crazy that he wouldn't take he would never bathe around his soldiers because he didn't want anybody to see him nude, things like that.
Well, I have the same thing. I don't.
Well, I do
hang
too.
Around soldiers,
But
I will around you though.
What? Really?
I mean, if you want.
Well, when I throw those dollar bills at you, you just ignore me.
Well, I didn't know that's what you wanted. I just assumed you wanted the other thing, so that's the reason why I opened my mouth. This is
It's
getting
more
weird,
the-
Chad.
It's more the hooting than anything. And I don't mean like hooting and hollering like sexy. I mean, it's the fact you put on the owl costume while you watch it, Joe. It's a little. And the fact it's made out of real owl. That's the
mean,
logistics get.
If you're going to go big. All right.
I just really liked him.
Poor Woodsy.
He was this straight-laced, president who was there to save the country, and Ulysses S. Grant was nothing of the sort. So since you took my Jack Nicholson in Mars Attacks, I had to talk about Kevin Kline and Wild Wild West. That was my backup, gentlemen.
Icky.
So I've got a question. Are we doing a separate episode about television? Or do I need to?
Want? Yes, let's just do another about television.
Okay, well then I'll stick to movies.
Spoiler, I'm going to talk about That's My Bush.
That's underrated. People forget
it really is.
I never made it past the first episode.
Was that the aborted fetus one?
I don't remember. I don't remember laughing.
I laughed at the aborted fetus one.
There is a movie that has a president that the president doesn't get enough attention, which is a shame. As a matter of fact, the movie didn't do as well as they hoped it would, and that's kind of a bummer too, because I enjoyed the movie. Because this movie, gentlemen, is right up our alley. Because when we're thinking about movies, and we're thinking about movies involving presidents, we want a good dose of monsters. But this movie didn't just give us monsters. It also gave us aliens.
My God, I knew which one he was. I didn't even think
Stephen
about it.
Colbert as President Hathaway in Monsters versus Aliens.
That honestly, that is not where you thought I was going to go. I was tossed up between that and the Kevin Kline role. So good going.
Stephen Colbert as President Hathaway. I mean, the over the top idea that we have an entire bunker full of monsters that we're just holding on to in case we need them later. And then aliens invade, and you get the great line: the president has okayed the unleashing of the monsters. And Hathaway is stupid. He's backwards. He's an idiot. But he has all these great lines.
And oddly enough, he looks like Reagan.
I'm sure that's a coincidence.
Yeah,
Chad,
completely.
Purely coincidence. Man, he does the finger gun thing. He does all, and Stephen Colbert voices him perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Like at first, I was like, "Yeah, it's a little," because the Colbert Report was on and all that stuff. Like, that may be a little on the nose. And then I saw it. I'm like, no, that is the best voice casting you could have done for that particular president.
Boys, set the terror level at Code Brown because I need to change my pants.
I mean, it is a family movie, but it has such great lines as that. And it's just, I don't know. It's one of the ones where I think it's important to introduce to children that politicians are like the rest of us, and some of them are not. There's no need to have awe. There's no need to have, I mean, because at the end of the day, they are just like us, except they're willing to compromise in ways that many of us wouldn't. We don't have to. We don't have jobs that require us to. But I love Stephen Colbert as president.
Yeah, I love when he pulls the gun on the robot and he fires at it. He goes, "So that's how you want to play it? Eat lead, alien robot." And then nothing happens. He goes, "Evidently, they eat lead."
I mean, it's stupid.
It's been a while since I've seen it. I don't remember his lines. I just remember, House's lines.
The whole thing about where he's like, he's going to hit the big red button, and you're like, "No, what? I want a latte. Where's the latte button? It's right next to it. It's the same big red button." He goes, "Who's the moron that designed this?" And somebody said, "You did, sir." He goes, "Hold on, what was that? I got to look it up." He goes, "Fair enough." And he goes, "Wilson, fire somebody."
Yeah. It's all his fault, but he won't take the blame.
Yeah.
And I
Sound
honestly,
familiar?
I'm being completely honest in that I think that's one of the best messages we can give to children is do not get stuck in this idea that presidents are somebody you should quote unquote worship because they are all equally flawed in some way. Some more so than others, but at least there's no perfect president.
Sorry, I just looked this one up. Time to wave the white flag and head for the bunker, boys. Let's check on the situation in 500 years. Who wants to freeze my head? I forgot about that one.
It's just great lines, man, and so you can't not talk about President Hathaway. And I've got honorable mentions, Joe, but I'll let you do your last. We're on 3, right? Third?
Yeah, we're on
that's
3.
3.
Mine is from 2000, and it's a movie that people don't remember that I think is really good, and it's called 13 Days. And if you don't know what that is, we've talked about Kevin Costner in here before, but Kevin Costner actually I think is an underrated actor, and he plays chief of staff, and 13 Days is about the Cuban Missile Crisis, and Bruce Greenwood plays JFK. And I actually think he's one of my favorite JFKs of all time. Have either one of you ever seen it? It's directed by Roger Donaldson.
I've seen it. It's
The
a really good
only
film.
thing I don't like
Who directed that, Joe? I forgot.
Roger Donaldson. He
Okay.
went on to direct, what was that movie you were talking about earlier, James?
What?
The Tripper.
Tripper.
Directed The Tripper. Anyway, so Roger Donaldson directed it. The only thing I don't like about this movie is for some inexplicable reason, because it's not even with flashbacks. Part of the movie's in black and white and part of the movie's in color. And it doesn't make any sense. They either needed to do one or the other, or if it was for some reason, do either one of you remember this? If it was for some reason they were doing flashbacks, or if they went to the Soviet Union or Cuba.
I don't remember the color flipping. I really don't.
Then if you did that black and white, it makes sense. It doesn't make sense. It's always bugged and irritated the hell out of me. If I ever met Roger Donaldson, I'd ask him about it, but I haven't. So there you go. But Bruce Greenwood is a fantastic actor, fantastic character actor. James, he has one of the best lines in Star Trek, all of Star Trek. I think he has one of the probably top 5 or 10 lines of when he's talking to young Kirk in the Star Trek reboot, saying,
"Oh, do better."
Do better. Yeah, basically, if your dad say blah 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 blah, I dare. What is it?
I dare you to do better.
I dare you to do better.
It is fantastic, and he delivers it amazingly.
Yep.
I can never get it right, but it's one of the top, and that's in Star Trek has a lot of good lines.
Also, I really like his line when they go into warp, punch it. It's just
yeah. So Bruce Greenwood, amazing, underutilized, never got the credit he deserved, character actor, and he's fantastic as JFK in that movie in 13 Days. And I don't know that anyone talks about it. In fact,
they don't. I honestly forgot about it till you mentioned it.
Well, when we was going through lists, I started looking up real presidents because we haven't really talked too much about that.
Man, he directed Cocktail. He should automatically be hung out and dried for that one.
Have you seen Cocktail?
God, yeah, it's awful.
I haven't seen it in years, and maybe it is. I haven't watched it in a long time. Be honest about it.
And Dante's Peak. Ooh, he went from Dante's Peak to 13 Days.
Yeah, Dante's Dick is a pretty bad movie. I've only ever seen scenes of it. All right.
It's no what's the not Don Volcano.
Volcano.
Okay.
With Tommy Lee Jones pulls that one together.
Who's next? Who wants to do honor? I have an honorable mention. Who else has an honorable mention?
I have some.
All right. While you're thinking about it,
I mean, I can go if you want me to go.
Go, bitch.
I joked about it, but probably my favorite movie about a president is Daniel Day-Lewis as Lincoln. I still love that film.
It's the best movie about a president.
Yeah, I've
got one I'd hold up against it, but it's not a film, so I can't talk about it.
Every movie we've talked about, Chad, is good, but it has flaws, except for maybe Failsafe. There's not a flaw in Lincoln.
None.
Oh, well, yep, there is.
What's your flaw?
It's the same flaw I have with AI. Movie doesn't end in time. The movie should end when he puts his gloves, when he says, I shouldn't, I'm going out, but I wish I could just stay home. And when he's looking for his gloves and we see his gloves, movie should have ended there instead of having the whole epilogue.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. But the ending didn't bother me.
That's a mic drop ending.
Yeah. And then, of course, yeah.
I was about to say, I'm making an assumption that fucking idiots know that Lincoln was shot a few minutes later.
Yeah.
What? Spoiler? Come on, Joe. I haven't seen it yet.
Well, then it cuts to his son in a theater, the youngest one in a theater, and they find out, and it doesn't. I don't know. But Lincoln's one of the best movies ever about an American president.
Should have went to
And
the
the second
matinee.
one,
Should have
and of
went to
course,
the matinee.
my other honorable mention is, of course, the second best movie about a president ever made, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
It was terrible.
But the book is phenomenal.
I'm sure it is.
God, but the movie's awful.
The movie is. I own the movie and what gets me about that, what makes me actually angry.
And James, I'm going to leave the low budget ripoff to you.
What gets me actually angry is the fact that the screenplay was written by the guy that wrote the book.
I know, but I argue with you every time you bring it up. I always say shitting on the screenwriter is basically saying, I can't believe how the key grip killed this movie.
No, I agree. I agree. But
we have no idea how many other doctors were on that.
Oh, I know. And that's what I would love to see his original script, because his book it should be asinine. It really should be. And then you read it and you're like, this kind of makes sense. This kind of works. And it makes a lot of historical allusions to other people that were alive during that time and where they fell on it. And it shouldn't work. But good Lord, it's one of the most compelling, weird horror fictions I've read.
Mine are two. One is John Travolta as fake Clinton in Primary Colors. Primary Colors is another movie we don't talk about enough. It's a fantastic film.
Based also on a book that was originally published anonymously.
By Anonymous. I can't remember who the real author is, but it's basically Clinton.
I remember it came out, but I forgot who it was.
Yeah, and the other one is Frost Nixon, probably Ron Howard's last great movie. And Frank Langella is Nixon. What do you all think? What's a great Ron Howard movie after Frost Nixon?
You ever see that Solo? That's enjoyable.
I did rewatch it. It's enjoyable.
Yeah, no, I
stood by the original when I watched it in the theater, and I rewatched it. I was like, oh yeah, this is enjoyable, but your train sequence should have been at the end.
And to be honest, I'm still waiting for more Lando.
Yeah.
So,
I asked the question seriously. What is Ron Howard? Does anybody know? That's his last great movie.
I mean, I haven't seen it, but I mean, Hillbilly Elegy.
Yeah, that was ripped apart, but I haven't seen it either.
And the problem with that is the author. I can defend his book to a point. The problem is if you generalize it to all of Appalachia and say that's how all of Appalachia is, it's like when you generalize anything else, it falls apart. If it's a story about his family, that's fine. If you're saying his family represents all of Appalachia, you lose me very quickly, because that's not true.
And by the way, I know you're probably not going to agree with me on this one, but I will say Frost versus Nixon probably, but honestly, 2015's In the Heart of the Sea, I loved it.
I liked it, but I didn't love it. I thought it was a good movie.
I think that's his last best film.
Yeah, it was a good movie. Man, I thought about that because it's Chris Hemsworth. Actually, you know what?
And by the way, the guy who Chris Hemsworth plays looks nothing like Chris Hemsworth. I'm just saying.
The one where he did about the race cars. Actually, I like that a lot better.
Rush.
Yeah, I liked Rush better than I did In the Heart of the Sea.
So, are you done with your honorable mentions? I'll throw mine out because one of mine I almost forgot. But you're right, Chad. If we're doing honorable mentions, we shouldn't leave off FDR, American Badass.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's his name? Why am I blanking on Barry Bostwick's name?
Barry Bostwick, whom we met
when we did the interview, and we mentioned it to him because he also did the follow-up, which was what was it? It was even more terrible in title. It wasn't Anne Frank, was it, or was it?
It's something crazy.
But anyway, he's in it. He's got a cameo in it, or a shorter role, but he plays FDR. And it turns out FDR got polio from a werewolf attack. And it turns out Hitler and all those other people are werewolves. And that's actually the root of World War II. It's a lot of fun, but good Lord, don't go into it thinking, oh, this will be well done. I do think it's more fun than Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Outside of the book, I do like the book. But my other honorable mention, I have to mention because I think it's the type of president that I sometimes wish I could point to our history and say we had. and it's not a major role in the film. But there is this great film that kind of wraps up the Cold War. And in this film, you have these national heroes, effectively, who are caught up in political intrigue. And it gets to the president, and the president, they're like, what should we do? What should we do?
Oh,
And
sorry.
then
Oh my goodness. I apologize. I don't know what that was. It just popped up. I apologize. James, you were saying American
what the president actually has the great line of, this president is not above the law, and he has to agree to let them go through being tried by the other side. And I'm referring to Kurtwood Smith playing one of the greatest presidents ever committed to film, the Federation president in Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. And I actually say that not jokingly. Go back and watch the scenes that he's in.
Oh, he's
and
good. It's
his
just funny.
dialogue about, we are not above this. They could be guilty. I don't care that they're heroes. I don't care. And he doesn't say it that way, but it's we have to let this play out. And our values, our federation, to put it in modern parlance, our country is more important than two people. It doesn't matter that, yes, they've saved the world time and time again. That doesn't matter. Now, actually, I think there is a line. Now they're going to save it by standing trial. Mm-hmm. Now they're going to face their accusers. And that is just as heroic as them traveling through time or doing anything else, because they have to do this. And I think, I joke sometimes that Rocky IV is the end of the Cold War, but I actually argue the pop culture ones that actually probably do it better are Star Trek VI, and actually I would argue GoldenEye, Bond's commentary on the end of the Cold War and how it wasn't really over. And that seems really, really relevant right now. And so I do think Star Trek VI, the Federation president in that, is one of the most compelling presidents on film, because it really does look at, what are you willing to sacrifice? Who are you willing to sacrifice to preserve everybody else?
All right. Well, guys, this has been our Presidents in Film. Tune in the next week or two, and we'll be talking about presidents on television. Feel free to give us your suggestions. Send them all to James, Chad, or Joe at our Twitter or Facebook. Anything else, gentlemen, before we log off?
Yeah. Real quick, we'll just see if anybody can do it. Who's your favorite dictator on film?
You know how you grow dictators?
Oh, good Lord, I apologize.
You plant the foreskins.
I was going to say Charlie Chaplin, because that's the classic example, right?
That's how you get you a whole mess of dictators. Raise some foreskins.
Chad, you want to say Sacha Baron Cohen so we can just end this? I apologize. I don't know why I tried to get in one last question.
This has been Bonehead Weekly.